How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm knackered this morning for some reason.
I
don't
am
know.
too. It's snowing here.
Snowing? You're winding me up.
No, I will take you a picture. It is snowing like crazy here.
My God.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Morning, Andrew. How are you?
What's that, Dave?
I was just saying good morning to Andrew.
Yeah.
Good morning, Dave.
It's not snowing where you are, is it?
No, we've actually had a beautiful start to the day. Sun's out, so it's quite nice actually here.
Very good. Very good. No,
It's spring.
All we need now is typhoons. Snowing? I can't believe it's snowing in April. That's potty, that.
We've had snow in June.
Have you?
Yes, it's been a couple years, but it's snowed in June here.
Making a snowman in your bikini?
That would not be a sight, that's for sure.
Oh, how good would that be? Getting on a sledge in your bikini.
That would be cold.
Going down a hill in your bikini. How good is that? People at the bottom would have a right view of that. Come on, love. Go a bit quicker if you can. Everything going sideways.
Gosh.
Hair, ears, threatening bits, everything's getting pushed down to the side. Oh.
They have races like that in the spring at the ski resorts here.
I bet they do.
Build these concoctions, yes,
yeah.
And it's weird.
Weird? I can't get there quick enough. When's the next one?
Next spring. Actually, they could be going on about now.
No, right. Hold on. I need to lie down. Just hold on. I've got one of these. I've got one of these relaxants from the vets the other day. It works, but you can't feel your legs after 5 minutes.
Oh, Dave, I'm so excited. I'm actually hungry and tired today. So it's like I'm hangry because I've been fasting because I have to give blood this morning. So I haven't eaten for hours and hours and hours. But I am so excited to have Andrew Gregory here with me today. He is a confidence coach, and he's going to share some awesome tips and tricks and some things about himself. His story, of course, is going to be highlighted. And so I'm excited. We were trying to figure out how we met, and we think we met through an online Facebook group, and I think that's how we traced it back, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm super excited. Right. Yep. And which is actually, that Facebook group is no longer around because that company is no longer around, which is interesting. And then I
wonder why that is then.
I don't know, maybe we broke it.
Exactly.
It had nothing to do with us two.
And we also have another connection. We both are authors for One Tribe magazine. So we both have some pieces in that magazine, and you guys should definitely check that out at some point. And so, Andrew, thank you for being here with me today. Can you tell us a little bit about you? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I'm Andrew Gregory. I'm 37. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Joanne, with 2 kids, our dog, Murphy. We live in Ballater in the Cairngorms National Park of Scotland, beautiful part of the world. And like you said, I am a confidence coach. I help people tap into the confidence within, help them build empowering new beliefs.
Awesome. I always love the pictures of Murphy. What kind of dog is Murphy?
Murphy's a cockapoo.
Cockapoo?
A what?
A cross between a cocker and a poodle.
He's so cute.
My God.
He's adorable. He has his moments, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
That's like this. There's a couple over here that have got, it's a Yorkshire Terrier crossed with a Dachshund. So, but jokingly, I said to the French neighbours, it's a dwarf Irish wolfhound, and they believe me. Really? Where do you get this from? Bless him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Murphy's really awesome to watch his antics, and he was playing the big bad wolf yesterday in a fairy tale. Yeah, that was so great.
My son.
Yeah, that was so great. That was awesome. So you've actually been to the United States, correct?
Yeah, a few times. I actually lived in the States for a little while. When I was younger, my dad was working in oil and gas, and we moved to Houston. Had a couple of years there. But I've done California, Louisiana, Florida, New York as well. I just love it across there.
Yeah, that's kind of like the whole gamut from east to west to south. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have an awesome show for y'all today, and we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to hear about Andrew's story and ask him some questions. And if you guys have questions throughout the show, make sure that you give us an email or put us a comment on Facebook or wherever you're best connected with us. And we're going to listen to Frel Happy, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Expat Radio, your worldwide friend.
Welcome back to The Heartbeat. I love that song. It makes you just want to get up and dance. Dave, I was thinking about the conversation you were having earlier about the ice cream truck dude.
Yeah. Yes.
And I worked in an ice cream shop when I was in my teens in high school. And
hold on, I remember you. I remember seeing you on the Waltons.
Oh my God! So anyway, the owner lady stood.
Sorry, go on.
The owner lady stood just like you described, with her hands crossed, her arms crossed, and her boobs like perched. And then when somebody came in, thump, there they are.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They always said, "Do you want a 99?" What did they call it in the States when they had a ice cream on a cone? What did they call it?
Ice cream cone.
Well, no, it had to be.
It's like
it had to be that, didn't it?
A single dip.
A
single dip or a double dip or...
That's filth. You're coming up with some filthy names for it. We had a 99 apparently. Didn't we, Andrew?
Absolutely, the old 99. Can't get wrong.
99 for an ice cream. Chocky ice. I bet you didn't have one of them over there, did you?
Nope.
No, there you go.
Missed
They'll invent that soon. What else did they have? What else did we get? Snowballs.
The old Arctic roll.
Go on, you tell her. Tell her, Andrew.
The old Arctic roll, you can't go wrong with either.
I know, yeah. I remember going out.
What is that?
It's going out with an Eskimo, but she's a lovely piece. She's got more hair on her than a walrus, but there's nothing wrong with an Arctic roll every now and again.
Oh my gosh! I did not see that conversation going that way.
No, I didn't either. Why it did, I've no idea, but
Welcome back, everyone, to The Heartbeat. I have Andrew Gregory with me here today, and we are going to leap into Andrew's story. I like to give people some time. You've heard me say it before. Your story matters. Everyone has one, and your story matters, and Andrew's definitely matters. And I'm excited to hear what Andrew's going to tell us today. So, Andrew, it's all you.
Thank you very much. I suppose the reason I became a confidence coach is what I'd probably like to talk about. It's I've always had this innate feeling that I wanted to help people, but it was actually through my battle with anxiety and depression where I actually got clarity on how I wanted to do that. I think the stigma of mental health is still very much there. I think awareness and understanding of it is improving, but people still aren't confident enough to talk up, and it can be totally detrimental to their own well-being, their own health, and their own lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you remember a time when that moment when you're like, okay, so I'm in this space right now and I've learned some things. I want to share those things with people.
Absolutely. And I think that's come through my battle. It's understanding how many people are impacted by mental health conditions. It's understanding what that can do. It's understanding that you kind of lose yourself in your own head. And it's been through professional help, but also my own studying and doing becoming a qualified life coach, which was something I did for me to be able to help other people to get a better understanding of how I could use what my experiences, my knowledge, how I could turn that into helping other people.
Yeah, I think there's always that thought that, you hear it time and time again, you learn by teaching others. And so
absolutely.
I completely appreciate that. How long have you been a certified life coach?
About 18 months now. But I've kind of only just started launching myself as a confidence coach over the last, probably since the start of the year, end of last year. One of the reasons is because I didn't actually have clarity on what it was I wanted to do with that. But confidence was the thing that resonated with me the most. It's the thing that I probably struggled with the most. Which might be strange for some people to hear, because I think I was quite good at wearing a mask, as it were. It was the image I wanted to give of everything's okay, I'm doing fine, I'm coping. I suppose, as unfortunately the majority of men are probably conditioned to be, you cannot show weakness. You've got to be strong. We don't talk about our feelings and our emotions that much. I'm quite happy to talk about our physical ailments, but when it comes to our mental health and our emotional health, we're still very guarded. And I think part of why I kind of talk about it is to try and encourage people that it is okay to speak about it. It's okay to not be okay. And that it actually helps grow your confidence in being able to speak about it openly.
Yeah. You know, I've had a lot of men on recently, and it's because I have that same thought pattern. Like, if we can create a space, if we can show other people it's okay, especially as a man in this world, to be vulnerable, to share your feelings, to, be not okay. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And I think it's really interesting when you say that you were wearing a mask, because I'm going to guess every single person that I spoke to at some point said the same thing. Like, I have to put on this mask and not be the real authentic me.
That's it.
And so I'm honored to have you on today to share this information. So do you remember the turning point where you're like, I have to do something, like, this isn't me?
I think actually my turning point came from other people's intervention. It came from being in a really, really dark place, knowing that I didn't want to be there anymore, knowing that I think for a long time I lost who I was. I got stuck in my own head, ruminated on my own thoughts, and unfortunately without sharing it, it became really, really detrimental. It had such a strong impact. And I would think at the end of last year, it was kind of a real wake-up call. I've probably been battling now for about 4 or 5 years actively. I've probably been suffering with it a lot longer. But it was probably 4 or 5 years ago when it started to really, it became more difficult for me to hide what it was that was going on for me. But I didn't have the tools or the understanding of how to vocalize that, because it's not what I did.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I do what I want to do now in my confidence coaching, is to let people realize that you can only be yourself. You are only human. You are going to make mistakes, but everything is just a lesson. The worst thing you can do is just hold on, bottle what's going on, because it can just make you feel so much worse. Right. And I think what's helped me is the support that I've received in opening up, getting to see how many other people are struggling, and sometimes they don't have an avenue, or feel they don't have an avenue because there's the fear of stepping out the comfort zone. It sounds a bit strange, they're thinking that just depression, anxiety is a comfort zone, but it is what you know.
Yeah, it's that certainty piece, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to, meet your needs. Absolutely.
That's it. You've been in it for so long that it is the norm. That is the comfortable thing. Sharing is quite a scary thought process. You're worried about reactions. You're worried about how people are going to take it. You have that guilt and burden or feeling like you're a burden on other people for sharing, when since I've started opening up, it's been that complete opposite.
Right.
So it just goes to show that your thought process, although it's your opinion, it's not always accurate.
Right. I think that's interesting because, you always have this fear and this thought like, oh my gosh, if I share too much, like when I shared my story for the first time, I was like, there's that fear of judgment, that fear of, every fear that you could imagine possible kind of
Absolutely.
like dumps over you. And then as soon as you share it, it's like, sometimes it's a little overwhelming, like, oh, thank God you finally shared that. Now we can really talk. And it's like, it opens you up for some really awesome connections. And
absolutely.
And yeah, it's fantastic. I want to keep going. I want to take a quick break and come back and just keep diving into mindset and maybe ask you some tips and tricks. And we're going to listen to Kim Wilde, Candy Crush, and we will be right back.
You're listening to Expat Radio, your worldwide friend.
Welcome back to The Heartbeat with me, Christine Saunders, and my special guest, Andrew Gregory, today. We are talking about confidence coaching. We're talking about ice cream. We're talking about whatever we want to talk about.
Oh, cornetos.
Oh my gosh, that song, I was just telling Andrew, that song reminds me of ice cream, that Candy Crush. It's like a candy store. Like ice cream and candy go together.
No, they don't. You'll have no teeth. You'll have no teeth left if you carry on with that idea.
You know what's interesting now that you say that? Like when I worked at that ice cream store, I was the skinniest thing I'd ever been. How is that possible?
Well, because you're walking up and down behind the counter serving all the time. Should you stop still and you're eating this stuff, you bet you're proud of it. Now the fact that you're over 15 stone, I mean, you don't want to be that big, do you? Hey.
I did have a giant like arm where Popeye has his big arm when I used to scoop, because I used to scoop the ice cream.
Lovely.
Yeah. It was really attractive.
We've got an ice cream shop here in the village called Shorty's. It's homemade ice cream. And it's one of the things for the kids as well. Every time we go past, we have to go in and get a cone.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's the other thing, isn't it? You never see a dwarf working behind a counter in an ice cream shop, especially called Shorty's, do you? Hey, you don't see dwarves serving ice cream. They can't. I mean, normally they have to pass it down, but if they've got to give it up to somebody, the thing will fall off the cone and end up on the floor half the time.
Yeah, not a pretty sight.
No.
Not a pretty sight. No.
Anyway.
All right. We are going to dive into some mindset stuff with Andrew today and just keep going with our awesome conversation. I appreciate you sharing your story a bit and being vulnerable and being that role model for other, people, men in the world. And so let's talk a little bit about mindset and a little about maybe some strategies you can share with us. And
absolutely.
So let's just start with like the first thing that you did to kind of get out of your head. Do you remember that?
The first thing I did, for me, it was actually journaling was the biggest thing I found. It was an epic way of being able to get out of my own head. Putting it down on paper allowed you to give you some clarity. It also somehow softened the blow of what it was that was going on. You kind of got that realization straight away that actually I can find a solution just by writing this down. Sometimes when you're stuck in your head, you can't see the wood for the trees. It's just spinning around and around. You're not having clarity of thought. You just know your head is full of thoughts. So I found writing, and that allowed me then to be able to bring it to the people around me so that they knew that I was struggling.
Right.
So I definitely found that as an amazing tool for myself.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, because I think, my husband and I have had this conversation, not so often, but enough to sort of bring it to light, like journaling, writing. Like, I think men hear that and they think, Dear Diary, today and that's
absolutely.
That's just not necessarily the case. There are so many ways that you can journal.
Yeah.
And do you just dump?
That's it. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's more like a mind dump for me. Just trying to figure out what's going on. And I try and do it also like on bad days that I have, but I also try and do it on the good days. So when I go through, or if I'm having a bad day, I've got something I can refer to. It just helps know that you've had that good day. You can have that again, no matter how tough things are. you always will get through it.
It's like almost anchoring that feeling, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you can dump it and put it out. Like, I think some of the really good journaling that I've seen and done is like really asking yourself some, if you can't just like dump everything fast enough, like asking yourself some of those like really good quality questions, like what was really awesome today, and like sort of focusing on that positive. What else have you used?
Well, now I'm starting to use talking, but I think in my coaching as well has kind of really helped. Again, it's amazing how many people step up and say they're struggling because I've spoken about it. It kind of helps give them the confidence, and in a weird way, it's quite reassuring for myself that you're not alone. You're not the only one who's struggling, and that certainly helped me. Right.
And when you so you recently had your first article in One Tribe, which is flipping fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So was that like I feel like that would boost someone's confidence. I know it boosted mine. There was a little fear there, but it boosted my confidence.
Absolutely. I think as soon as I press the send button, you're second guessing yourself, and it's like, well, what happens if it's rubbish and they don't use it? And so actually seeing it printed was definitely a big thing. And in that article, I was talking about how looking after our own well-being can be a big thing for boosting our confidence. A lot of times when I ask people about what they value, the last thing they ever mention, if they mention it at all, is themselves. They'll talk about the family, house, car, money, all these other things that they value, but they won't talk about valuing themselves. And then making the time to show your worth, make yourself feel better. Give yourself the time, the space, just for you, not to have any guilt from doing it either. There's nothing selfish about making time for yourself. I think most people will know that you can't pour out of a empty cup. So you can't. The only way you can help other people is by looking after yourself and showing yourself some love.
Right. That's like an awesome topic that's sort of, it's everywhere. In social media circles, is that self-care, because I think you're absolutely right. You can't, if your battery's half empty, you can't make a call.
No, exactly.
it just doesn't work that way. So that was fantastic. I loved reading that.
Yeah. And I think as well, things like well-being, you don't have to make time. It can be in the stuff that you do on a day-to-day, but just appreciating it more for what it is, whatever that is that works for you, is just realizing that is for you. If it's having a bath, taking a shower, going out for a walk, whatever it is, time with the family, that you know that it's time for you. Don't put pressure on yourself or guilt for making that time just for you.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at that. I appreciate you saying that, because I think we hear self-care and we have to think about sitting for 15 minutes and meditating or journaling or yoga or whatever, but it really is what you just said it was. Can you elaborate more on that? Give an example of your day, how you approach that.
I think for me, even when I wake up, going in for a shower and actually just appreciating the feel of the hot water on you, the smell of the products that you're using, the sound of the water coming down, just how refreshing it is, the fact that you are there.
Yep, I think we may have lost you.
No, oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's you. Yeah. You're good. Okay.
Thank you. But then also walking the dog, Murphy's obviously a great help for that. You get out into nature, you can take in the sights, the sounds, the smells, just really be sort of at one with yourself. Making the most of that sort of time can really help. Again, it helps with the clarity of thought. You can give yourself that space to really think about things and take things on board. Understand what's working for you, what's not. So that, and as well, I think one other way of boosting your confidence is sort of setting yourself achievable goals based around your values. So, for example, if you value your health and fitness, a simple goal, an achievable goal could be walking 3 times in a week.
Right.
So you give yourself a target. Once you've accomplished it, you get that sense of accomplishment, that sense of doing something, and that could boost your confidence as well. And basing it around your values rather than the actual result, as it were, means that you can actually enjoy the journey. You can enjoy the fact, and if you don't hit your 3 walks, you still had 1 or 2, which then went with it. But if you set yourself 3 walks and you're results orientated and you don't do that, it can make you feel really rubbish.
Right.
So it can be quite detrimental. So basing it more on your value of being fit, healthy, getting fresh air, can really help boost your confidence up.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about like celebrating successes, because I don't think people do that enough.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that can certainly boost confidence, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think people have to understand, well, I hear a lot of people say that I have no confidence, absolutely none. And there's actually not a person in the world that doesn't have any confidence. Every day we're doing things that requires confidence. Walking down the stairs, taking a shower, making a cup of coffee, text messaging, sending an email. All these things were a skill we had to learn. But the fact is we do it now with such regularity that the impact of how much confidence that all takes has dwindled. I think people think you're only confident if you're jumping out of an aeroplane or public speaking to thousands and thousands of people. That's not really the case. We are all confident beings. We all do things every day that requires confidence. And like you say, we don't celebrate the stuff that we do enough on a day-to-day basis and just appreciate just how amazing we all are.
Right. So we happen to have Kool and the Gang celebration up next to listen to. Right?
That was a good
awesome
link.
And so we're going to come back and we're going to ask a few more questions, have people hear how they can get a hold of you. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to email us. Dave, can you share the email one more time?
expatradio.fr@gmail.com.
Thank you. We're going to go out to Kool and the Gang celebration. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Expat Radio, your worldwide friend.
Welcome back to the Heartbeat. Hey, Dave, do we still have people on from Venezuela?
Yes, you certainly do. And
how fantastic. Welcome.
Yeah, and I'll tell you where else we've got people in as well. Azerbaijan. You've got listeners.
We've got where?
Azerbaijan.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I think that's near Rhyl in Wales, but I'm not 100%. You know when you go in these tourist information places and you ask for a leaflet on places, you think, what the hell is this? I don't remember going on.
There's so many unexplored worlds.
Oh, it's potty. If you go into a travel agent and ask for a brochure on somewhere, you start flicking through. You think, I've never seen half of these places in my life or heard of them. You think, well, where on earth is this? You never learned that in geography, did you?
Right.
The frightening thing is about geography in America, like you ask people in America, a lot of Americans haven't got a clue where Europe is. Never mind countries in it. They don't know where Europe is. Do they?
Yeah. Our education system is, yeah, okay.
You know where Korea is because you're scared to death of them and the Japanese. But I mean, the rest of Europe, if I gave you a pin and said, right, put that on Spain, put that on Italy, and go for Belgium, you'd be like, you'd end up in...
I could do that.
Well, could you? Well, I bet a lot of people would end up putting a pin somewhere near where Andrew lives, in Scotland, when they're looking for Belgium, right? Landudno would have a pin in it for where else is there? Hamburg. And then God knows what else, any other. And then the results would be printed out on America's geography results. Wouldn't look
Fail.
good. Well, big fail, yeah. That's why if we ever went to war and the American Air Force had to go off and bomb somewhere, I'd be worried to death where they're going to drop something because I don't know what they were aiming at. Anyway, over to you. I'm going off on one. 12:50. You got 10 minutes left.
I know. We have a song, so we're going to crank it out really, really fast. I just have a couple questions for you, Andrew. My first question, who or what inspires you the most and why?
For me, the who is definitely my wife and my kids. It sounds a bit corny, a bit cheesy, but no, they do really push me on. The support that I have from them, the love that I have. Obviously, it's my safe space with them. So yeah, just wanting to do the best by them as well. It's probably my who would inspire me. I suppose my what is looking is again sound corny, but it's to help people. It's to make people have a better life, not let people suffer in silence. Feel that hopefully share something that's going to resonate with someone, that's going to help them take action. And make their lives better for themselves.
Right. I knew there was a reason why we connected, because my purpose and sort of mission or why in life is to ease suffering for whoever I can, whenever I can. So it's really much in alignment with what you're doing. So that's awesome. And then I ask a lot of people this on the show. What is the difference between bravery and courage?
It's a tricky one. Because I think to me they're one in the same thing. To be courageous, you have to be brave. To be brave, you have to be courageous. But again, for me, it's also, although I would say they were the same, it's like I said earlier on, it doesn't have to be the jumping out of an aeroplane, running into a building that's on fire that indicates that you're brave or courageous. It could be just getting up in the morning. It could be getting yourself dressed, walking out your front door. These things can be huge to some people, and it takes real bravery and courage to be able to do that on a daily basis.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts on that. I love the diversity and answers that I get. It's really awesome. It's really personal. And so that's why I love to hear people's mindset around that. So I really appreciate that.
You've never asked me about my point of view on that.
Oh, I think I have.
No, my idea, bravery and courage is, number one, don't ever get in a plane with a parachute that you know you're going to launch yourself out of. To do a parachute jump, think twice. and courage is to take a flying lesson first, so in case you ever do get pushed into a plane with a parachute, you know you're going to fly it down to the ground. You don't have to jump out the bloody thing.
There you go. There you go, Dave. See? I appreciate yours too.
See, there's always, there's always a reason for the process.
Yes. There is.
No way in a month of Sundays, Andrew, should you be blooming have no confidence, lad, because you're a superstar. So don't ever think like that.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Yes, he is. So speaking of that, how can people get a hold of you?
They can find me on Facebook. I've just launched actually a business page at Andrew Gregory Coaching, so you can find me there. I'm also on Instagram. I hold my hands up. I've been a bit guilty of not updating that as much, but so Facebook is probably the best place they can reach me.
Awesome. And so you're actively seeking clients to help?
Yes, absolutely. Just in the process of launching my first group course, to hopefully have that up and running. I think sometimes it helps having people alongside you doing it.
We've got a good idea for that, mate.
That support. So that should hopefully be launching in May. So if anyone's interested, do keep an eye out for that.
We've got the idea for you there. We've already named the idea to get clients to come to you. Ice cream van. You drive round in an ice cream van saying personal confidence coaching on it.
Dave, I don't have the boobs for that.
You don't worry about the boobs, mate. Don't worry about that. I'll get boobs down there for you. I'll get women down there with threeply bits like you've dreamt of. Trust me.
Oh my God! And you can play that silly music.
There'll be bingo
and
music.
People will come running.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. It'd be like one of that. You know, the advert. Well, I don't know if you get it in America. There's an advert about dog food, and all these dogs came out of all these houses and all started running up this hill for this dog food. It'd be like that for women. All these women, housewives, coming running out of their houses, threeply bits everywhere, topless. You know, oh, Andrew's here in the van. Quick, get up that hill. And they're all legging it up there, and before you know it, happy days.
We've got a marketing strategy for you.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That would be so funny. We should I think like all the people that I've had on, and Dave and I have kind of talked about this and joked about it, but it could be a real thing. Like, let's just do a world tour of all of us and be expat, you know, whatever. It would be awesome. We'll get a bus.
Well, no, we don't need a
bus. On tour.
We'll get an ice cream van.
Expat on tour.
Get an ice cream van. We'll double up. We'll make a fortune selling the ice cream, and you can do your coaching at the same time. Happy days. Plus, we get a load of women with big threeply bits queuing up. That's more than happy.
Oh my gosh, Andrew, I'm so thankful and honored that you came and shared this space with me today. And make sure that you all.
You there? You've cut yourselves off then.
Any parting words, and then we have to go to a quick song.
No, just thank you very much for having me here. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for making me feel so comfortable and welcome.
Good.
You're welcome, mate. If you've got the nuts to actually get on here and speak in front of 80,000 people, that's some nuts, mate. Trust me.
That's awesome. And we get to go out with like my new favorite band, Westlife.
Yeah.
Hello, my love. Thank you, Dave.
You're more than welcome. And
thanks, Dave.
Change those pajamas, Saunders, for Christ's sake. That colour doesn't suit you first thing in the morning.
Does it wash my face out?
No one knows about the things that I've been through with you.
It's amazing. It makes your complexion look pink.
Sometimes I drive you nearly mental.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye.